Es-tu prêt?
At 7 o'clock, I'll call the meeting to order. Before we adopt the agenda, 3.1 Pilot Immigration Atlantic. Gino Thibault will not be here tonight. For 3.2, I'm sorry, for personal reasons. And in camera session, we don't usually add to these, but the CAO would like to add 12.2 human resources, if you're all in agreement with that. That being said, a motion to adopt the agenda would be in order, moved by Danny, seconded by Yvon. All in favor? Against? Carried. B, are there any items on the agenda that could put you in conflict of interest? If not, we move to 3.1 Boundary Review Report. The floor is yours. Make sure in English.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Inaudible.
I'm told if I talk in that general direction, I'll be okay. So thank you very much, Your Worship, members of council. I'm here to make a final presentation of the boundary review process. I've just got a short PowerPoint to go through. We've had some public meetings over this, and I think you're familiar with the process up to now, but I'll recap, I guess, the highlights. We've done the project in 2 phases. The first phase was to look at the size of council, and we met with the public in January concerning that. I think you're aware we had a survey of the public in the municipality. We got a very good response to it, 512 responses to the survey online. And I think the highlight or the key outcome from that survey was general support for maintaining the current council size. So of 424 of the 512 respondents answered a question concerning their preferred council size. And if I look at my book here, 46.2%, 196 indicated they favored a council of 8. The second preferred choice was 92 or 21.7% of respondents to the question who favored a council of 5. And overall, more than 55% of the respondents to the survey favored either the current council size or a larger council. So obviously the remaining roughly 45% of respondents were interested in seeing a reduction in council size. But from that point, once we'd established the council size, we went on to the next phase of work, which was a review of the boundaries, or a determination of what boundaries for polling districts would be appropriate to elect councillors. And we did scenarios for councils of 5 members and 8 members, given that those were the 2 responses to the survey that got the best support, and so that we exposed, I guess, the issues in relation to all the alternatives of maintaining or reducing council size. So I'll just go on in this quick PowerPoint through the priorities that we have in setting the boundaries. As I think you're all well aware, this application concerning council size and polling district boundaries will go to the Nova Scotia Utility and Review Board. The municipality will apply to the board, and the board will review the application, and the board will apply specific criteria to the boundary framework that is applied for. And those criteria, paramount among them is voter parity, or the requirement that the districts be reasonably balanced in terms of the number of voters or electors within each district. So the board has established a rule that that districts should all be within plus or minus 10% of the average of all districts. There's an allowance for some outliers, but we want them to be, the disparity from the average to be as moderate as possible. And if it does go beyond 10%, then the variance has to be explained in writing to the board, and the board obviously has to accept that that's a reasonable rationale for the arrangement. We're also required to take into account community of interest. I think that's turned out to be particularly significant here because obviously the French language and English language communities and the strong interest that's been expressed in the public meetings in maintaining the French language and the French Francophone culture within the municipality. And I'll point out that the basic building block we used for creating the districts was communities as defined by the province of Nova Scotia for the civic address system. And we took that into account, trying to arrange the communities as a whole and trying to be aware of which communities were French and which were English within the municipality. We're also required to take into account population and area, so we're trying to avoid districts that are unduly large. Generally speaking, in Nova Scotia rural municipalities, it's necessary to have at least one or two districts with larger land area, and Clare's an example of that, but we want to keep that reasonable. Obviously, also a manageable population within each district. Outside of the board's stated criteria, we also want the districts to be contiguous, if at all possible. So they should all be one continuous area, hopefully connected by the road network, so that people can move within the district, so the councillor can move within the district to meet with residents, and when elections come up, it's reasonably easy to get from within the district to whatever location is chosen for polling. And then finally, we look for strong, recognizable boundaries. So where we can find a road, particularly a highway like the 101, or a physical feature, particularly a river or lake system, that kind of thing. We try to use that as a boundary. So we took these criteria into account, but I will reinforce that the key thing is that the districts have to be balanced, or as much effort as possible should be put in to make sure that the districts are reasonably balanced with each other. So Clare obviously had a council framework for its 8 districts that was adopted following the review of the municipality's application in 2015. That boundary framework was used in the 2016 election, and of course is the framework or the group of 8 districts that the current council was elected from. Excuse me. That council arrangement, when it was approved, included one district, District 6, with some disparity, a reasonable disparity that was accepted by the board at 12.72% over the average, and District 8 as well was just a little under the 10% guideline. In any case, the board accepted those disparities when it approved the boundaries in 2015. But when the 2016 enumeration was done, the counts were as shown as I look at it, the right-hand side of the table, and at that point, with the 2016 enumeration, 4 of the 8 districts were outside of the plus or minus 10% guideline. One of them, District 6, significantly outside at 17.68% outside of the guideline. So that meant that under all circumstances, we were going to have to make some changes to the districts, whether the status quo in terms of the size of council was upheld or council was reduced in size. So we went and created boundary scenarios that we then brought to public meeting in Sonyaville in the Veterans Center on February 6th. And this was the distribution of voters that we had at that point. You'll see we were able to distribute 5 districts with all of the districts comfortably within the plus or minus 10%. And also with 8 districts, we were able to stay within plus or minus 10%, with the exception of District 6, but the variance was very small, just 10.9%. And I'm sure we could have taken these forward to the board in either case, and they would have been acceptable. However, in the course of the meeting, we had some discussion about some of the features of the district arrangement that we had, and we had some feedback about some issues that seemed to make sense. So we went back to the drawing board to create what we've called in the report a pair of revised boundary scenarios. So I'm going to refer a little to my notes because the changes that we had to make related to some of the communities, and I've got to keep track of the community names. So with respect to the 8-district arrangement, the key issue that was raised was that Ohio and Weaver Settlement on the northern edge of the municipality were included in District 1. And there are English communities that would make more sense to include in District 2. And by the same token, St. Joseph and Concession, which were French communities, were included in District 2, and it would be desirable to include them in districts that would be predominantly French. So District 2, of course, is an inland district, and for the most part, the districts along the coast are predominantly French. So essentially, it meant switching those communities, putting Ohio and Weaver Settlement into District 2, which of course had to then be balanced by taking some population out, and so we took Concession specifically out of District 2, and after making an exchange between District 2 and District 3, which was to move the community of Grosse Cokes from District 3 into District 2, necessary to restore population in District 2 that was lost with the subtraction of Weaver Settlement and Ohio. And then we also, by taking Grosse Cokes away from District 3, we took it well below the parity guidelines, so we had the room to add Concession onto District 3. Now that's with a qualifier. The northern section of Concession we had to leave in District 2, and it was not possible to move St. Joseph out of District 2. We simply would not be enough population, because even as is, we added population from the southern end of the municipality in Briar Lake and Hectanuga, as well as an isolated pair in just lost track of it for a second. Anyway, along the southern edge of the municipality, we added those groups, those communities which were in District 8 to District 2 to get it up within the variance criterion. And finally, that meant we took significant numbers away from District 8. We then put Malavet into District 8. An overall outcome of that was that District 2 is, I believe the communities that we took from District 8 are predominantly English in character. As I've mentioned, Ohio and Weaver Settlement are predominantly English. So District 2 is largely an English or Anglophone district. The balance of the districts are primarily Francophone, with the exception of District 8, which has a mix of both. But the final changes we made did tend to, I guess, reinforce the Francophone population in District 8. So I think we have a reasonable scenario for an 8-district council that should be acceptable to the board. With respect to 5 districts, we made some changes there. The issue that was raised was the division of St. Martin between District 4 and District 5 in that proposed 5-district arrangement. So we consolidated St. Martin into District 4, but when we did that, we obviously had to make some changes to other districts, and roughly what we did was to take Meteghan Station out of District 4 and divide it between District 5 and District 2. The outcome of that, I have said in the report, I'm not really sure it's better than what we had in the first place. Having to divide St. Martin was an issue, but then we replaced it with the issue of having to divide Meteghan Station. So it's really a bit of a trade-off between the two. But I do feel it's generally academic because, as I said, the survey favored the status quo or continuing with a council of 8. As I indicated through the public meetings we've had, consultation is very important. The Utility and Review Board puts a great deal of emphasis on it. I think the majority favoring continuing with a council of 8 is substantial enough to be clear. And in my opinion, certainly the community association has spoken for a council size reduction, and they voiced their concern and gave their reasons for that at the public meetings. But on the whole, I felt speakers in the public sessions reinforced what we got from the survey, that the community would like to continue with a council of 8. So the recommendation of the report is to continue with a council of 8 in Clare with the boundaries that are that we've defined in this revised arrangement. And if you would like, we have them poster-sized maps, and they're on the wall on the side, and you can have a look at the details. And I will say that if there's any fine point that we can readily deal with in it, I'm willing to hear about that. We can yet make an adjustment, but you have to submit your application by February 28th, so we have that much time. Myself, I think we've gone over it fairly carefully, and I feel pretty comfortable with the boundaries that we've presented.
Thank you, John. Are there any questions? Des questions? Brian?
So the process is that you submit your application, then we submit, or you submit your report, and we submit our application subsequently?
That's correct. The application comes from the municipality. It can be supported by my report.
It's just a small comment. I myself, I'm very pleased of the work that Stantec has done on this project. It's I think it's what the municipality, or at least the people, wanted. So it's a very good job, and I'm very pleased with the work.
D'autres questions, commentaires?
Any other questions or comments?
May I just like to say that I had the pleasure of working with John throughout this process, and just on behalf of myself and staff that had some involvement in the process, I'd like to thank John and his team for their work on the file over these past few months. In particular, your commitment to following an established process and to encouraging dialogue, and your willingness to listen throughout. So just a thank you on behalf of staff.
Well, I'd like to say thank you too. but it has been a good experience working on this project, and we have been well supported by staff and helped a lot by the community, and in the participation of the community in this process was very good, and I think is the major reason why I think we've got a good outcome, and I think confidence, I hope, in the recommendation that we're going forward with.
D'autres commentaires, questions?
Any other comments or questions?
What I was
English?
is what was the amount of public participation and engagement, and I think the process you laid out gave the opportunity for residents to really express their opinions. So I feel it's a very good report, and I feel that you've done an extensive job, especially when you look at the details throughout the report on numbers and the way you've dug into the community and understood what, the French-English component and the importance of the culture. So I just, on behalf of council, want to thank you for your work. It's job well done. So in saying that, if council is in the agreement, and I believe they are, we need a motion to accept the report. Danny? Okay, you want to put your mic?
Now I'll make it.
Yeah.
I move that the Council for the Municipality of the District of Clare accept the 2018 Boundary Review Report prepared by Stantec Consulting Limited, including the recommendations pertaining to council size and electoral boundaries contained therein.
Any discussion on the motion? As-t-il de la discussion sur la motion?
Is there discussion on the motion?
All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Contrary, nay. Motion carried. So thanks again for the great report, and see you soon, I believe, at the boundary review at the UARB hearing.
Okay, well, thanks for good experience, and look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Peux-tu me donner mes papiers là? C'est que tu me-
We now go to 4, adoption of minutes. 4.1, 17th of January 2018, regular council meeting. Are there any errors or omissions? There being none, a motion is in order. Moved by Carl, seconded by Neil. All in favor, say aye. Against, nay. Carried. 4.2, 7th of February 2018, council and committee meeting. Are there any errors or omissions? Moved by Danny, seconded by Yvon. All in favor, say aye. Against? Carried. 5, business arising from previous meetings. 5.1, Clare 250th Legacy Project. Thank you very much. This is a follow-up on the meeting of the Committee and Council of the 7th of February. During the meeting, Larry Peach, our tourism officer, proposed or explored a project which is to have an exhibition in Goscock, which would be at the Jean-Marie Dugas Park at Belleville Cove. During the discussion with the council, there seems to be interest by the council to pursue, but it's also the wish of the council to think a bit more about its participation, and we decided to put off the decision to this evening's meeting. That's the reason it's on the agenda. Is that are there any reasons you want to follow up on, or do you want to let the thing drop? Just for a small clarification, essentially what is being asked for is the approval of the council to go ahead with the first step. But if we think it costs too much, or if we don't like the concept, we can still say no. the way that we propose to proceed is to invite people who are interested to submit a concept on a page. Then there will be an evaluation of the concepts received to try to reduce the number to one or two that we would explore in greater detail. Then we would go ahead with a more detailed concept. We realize that given the nature of the project, there would be certain costs associated with it. Under the Clare 250, we have an amount provided for a legacy piece. And if we develop these one or two concepts, we would take care of the costs with the money already in the budget. If the council decided to go ahead with the project, it would be a question of approaching different funders and look for financing for the project. The intention is to try to leverage the municipal funds using other partners, the province and the federal government, for instance. But without that in hand, we can't say who we would approach and what the project would cost. The intention is not to propose a project of $500,000. We would hope that it would be more modest than that. That being said, what is your wish? Hector? Being from Goskok, I should say what I have to say. It seems to me to be a good project. I wouldn't want it to cost $1 million either, like Stefan said. Something good to put in the park in Saint Bernard. I don't think it's something that would need to cost all that much money. Is there someone else who has something to say? Neil? Yes, I think that it's a good idea. Something different for Clare would be a good idea. This is a project that everyone in Clare, I'm not, if there are many who haven't gone digging clams, but it seems what Councillor Thibault said, that would be a good attraction for tourists and it wouldn't cost very much. Perhaps there's a company in Clare that would be ready to do something in the area of surf clams with the money that we have in our budget. Is there someone else? I was at a meeting 2 weeks ago and there was someone from the Department of Acadian Affairs who had heard of the project and who was interested in the concept, and he found it interesting. I think it's an idea worth exploring. A consensus would be perhaps sufficient. They just want to know that they're not heading off in the wrong direction and that the council isn't interested. So if there's a consensus around the table, we will take note of that and advise the committee of the 250 committee, 5.2, the John Thibodeau Road. Before the meeting this evening, I submitted a number of documents. I'm sorry about arriving so late with this, but I was waiting on reports from engineers from last Friday. Before the engineers were able to do their analysis, I wasn't able to have the information until today. But if you recall, earlier in the year, last year, I'm sorry, we proposed the construction of the sewer system onto the John Thibodeau Road going down the hill. We invited tenders. The budget, the amount of tenders was much higher than what we had expected in the budget. The budget had been $557,000. So instead of accepting any of these submissions, we decided to refuse them all. We couldn't justify the amounts asked for.
Okay. Also, in the same times, we consulted with the council here, the engineers, and we decided to wait and reoffer tenders later in the year. At the time, that would be less cumbersome for contractors. So we did this, we proceeded this way. We put the tender out again during winter months, and the tender closed last week. And as you see on the first page, we received 6 tenders, and as you can see, there's quite a variety of the pricing, but the low bid was from Aberdeen Paving for an amount of $477,000, $652. So if you look at the next page, it's just an analysis that was done to assure that all the companies had met our requirements and satisfied the criteria of the submission. And as you see that Aberdeen was satisfying all the criteria, so we propose a 12-week project from the beginning to the end. This being said, the third page that I gave you is an overview of the project financially. So we had approved of an amount of $557,000 for the project, and until now we have spent around $90,620, which is a combination of engineering work and also certain parts of equipment. So we have already invested in this project. So whereas we have $466,380 left. So if you look the Aberdeen amount and the HST amount, the portion that we don't receive from HST can be claimed as an expense. So this means that the tender for Aberdeen without the would be $490,000. We only have a difference of $31,000. However, talking with the engineers and our staff, we are quite confident that the Aberdeen tender is a reasonable amount. So if you look a bit further on page 3, you see current funding mix. COA will pay $50,000 of the project's $278,500. The municipality of Clare and Riverside Loper will each pay 25%, $139,250 each. So what we propose is that the ACOA, we don't propose to go see ACOA for more money. It is a very generous contribution on their part, and the same thing for Riverside. Is contributing a lot, $140,000 on the project, and all their contribution against other projects regarding the municipality. We didn't feel it right to go and ask them to pay more, so what we propose to do, or what I propose this evening, is to increase the municipal contribution, and it would be it would cover the 31% and include a bit more just in case there would be unforeseen expenses. And there is a contingency of $30,000 in Aberdeen already in their tenders. So with the amount that they will contribute. We're confident that this will give us the money necessary to complete this project. So we propose to take the 50,000 from our reserve, capital reserve, and the balance now, we'll talk more during my report. It's 2.6 million, so it's something that we are easily able to undertake. So if this is what we propose this evening, is two motions, one in to give the contract to Aberdeen Paving for the amount of 477,652 and 23 plus HST, and the second motion would be to augment the amount of the municipality from 139,250 to 189,250, which will be taken from our capital reserve. So you have a good explanation, quite detailed. What is your... I first like to congratulate Stefan for the fact he timed it well for the RSP, because we see the difference in prices compared to last time. So it was a good way to save money. This being said, what would be your opinion on this? I think we're promoting the industry in our region, and this is done basically an industrial park down there, and I think it's they're contributing a lot in the community for work wise. So I'd be ready to do the motion if council so desires. I will do the motion. I move that the council for the municipality of the district of Clare recommend awarding the tender for the John Thibodeau Road Sewer Extension Project to Aberdeen Paving Limited to the amount of $477,652.20 plus HST to be funded from the municipality's capital reserve. Somebody second this? Carl? Is there any discussion on this this part of the motion? We can discuss it. Does anybody want to say anything about this motion? I think it supports our economic development, and it's quite clear that we should support this. Is there anybody else?
Penalty, so, and I agree with everybody else, we have to support it.
The reality to do all our sewer systems with that funding formula, we'd be in good shape. Sí,
Are you ready for the question? All those in favor indicate by saying yes. Against? Motion carried. Then we go to motion 2. We need a motion to increase the municipal portion on this budget. I move that the Council of the Municipality of the District of Clare increase its contribution towards the John Thibodeau Road Sewer Extension Project from the original amount of $139,250 up to a maximum of $189,250, and that these additional funds be sourced from the municipality's capital reserve. Anybody like to second it by Danny? Is there a discussion on this motion? All those in favor indicate by saying yes. Against? Motion carried. Then we go to 6, Warden's Activity Report. It's a bit long this year, but I won't go into many details, but if you have any question on January 17th, I did an interview to discuss the boundary review project. On the January 22nd, I went to the Université Saint-Anne council meeting, and I went to a harbor site on February 1st. I interviewed with Michael Gorman to discuss about how we proceed to recruit some doctors. You might have seen this in Information Morning. It was an article and it came to CBC and it made the news.
Michael Gorman.
He did a really good job, Michael Gorman. He made a good report. On the 5th of February, I attended a telephone conference of the auditing committee for the CDNE. And I also attended the second public meeting on the boundary review, and many of you were at that meeting as well. It went very well. On the 8th and the 9th February, I was again at the executive meeting of the CDNE in Halifax, and it was a session on governance for the Board of Governors. And there were also regular activities. On the 9th of February, I was at a meeting with the Premier of Nova Scotia and the Prefect of the Municipality of Digby, Jimmy McAlpine, to discuss the project concerning the Chinese market and opportunities for tourism and economic development, fisheries and education. We also had the opportunity to speak for an hour. We spoke of many other things as well, the villa, recruitment of doctors. It was really a good meeting. The same afternoon, I met with David Wong of the China Business Bureau of Nova Scotia to discuss the possibility of projects between China and our municipality. And one of the things that they would be interested in doing is to come and make a presentation at SDC on concerning cultural projects in China, and this would involve Halifax and Ottawa. The students like to go and see Cuba, but there would be the possibility that they would go to China, and they could go to Peking, and they have to go to school during the week. They would go to 5 different schools, and in the morning they would go to class, and in the afternoon they'd be billeted by with families, and they would go to Shanghai. So it would be his interest to come to SDC to talk about this. He would go to other schools as well. It would be interesting for the young people of the area. On the 3rd of February, I was at a meeting of the Board of Governors of Université Sainte-Anne in Halifax. This was a meeting concerning governance, and the second half, they began their new strategic plan, what they are working on now, and I will advise you they're going to be invited to participate in the development of this plan. So you will be receiving an invitation from the rector sometime in the month of March to go to the university to work with the consultant and to participate in this exercise. On the 14th of February, I attended a public consultation at the Veterans Center by the CDNE concerning community plan. A number of you were there at that meeting. On the 14th of February, I had an interview here at the municipal offices with Olivier Lefebvre of Radio-Canada to talk about the plans to recruit doctors. He is working on what is the good word for that? They are working on these on success stories across Canada in the area of health. So there will be a story on health in Clare and our medical center. He had a interview with Dr. Dow and Dr. Blinn. So he thinks this will be coming out in the month of March. So that is my report. Are there any questions? It was a bit long. If there are no questions, we move to official present statements from members of council. Hector, yes, I met Mr. Jason Nelson of the post office concerning the closure of the Little Brook post office, which closed on the 30th of September, 17th of 2017. To have the mail is now delivered at Church Point and in the community boxes. I was told that after the snow, there will be work on the parking around the boxes. If there are any problems, we only have to call him. If I have I also want to congratulate Josette Leblanc, Georgette Leblanc, for being named Poet Laureate at the Federal Parliament. For the parking, are they going to pave it? Inaudible? That's what they want to do. They're going to pour it. They will do the work when there's no more snow. If there are any holes, they will be fixing them. Eric, I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate Emery's and Harold German, who on the 15th of February, who celebrated their 60th anniversary of marriage. So it would be in order to send them a certificate from the municipality. Are you all in agreement with that? Are there other official statements? Yvonne? Another 60th anniversary on the 25th of January. And Irene Maillet. So it would be good to send them a certificate. Are you all in agreement? Are there any more statements? If there are not, and we move on to correspondence. Letter from the municipality of the district of Yarmouth.
For a letter to you on July 24th, 2017, the municipality of Yarmouth, 27th, 2018, at noon at Rod's Grand Hotel, 417 Main Street, Yarmouth. Members of Environment Climate Change Canada will be in attendance to discuss Doppler radar as well as ways to improve forecasting. As you know, Yarmouth, Shelburne, and Digby counties are currently without the benefits of adequate and reliable weather information, which has resulted in this meeting being arranged with members of Environment Climate Change Canada. You will find included with this letter 2 maps identifying current and future Doppler radar coverage. Clarification on this mapping, which clearly identifies the lack of appropriate coverage, will be requested. We would like to extend an invitation for a representative of your municipal unit to attend this luncheon meeting and would ask that you reply by February 20th to Lee Smith Doucette at 902-742-7159 if a representative will be attending. We would like to thank you for your past and continuing support and encourage your attendance at this meeting with government department representatives to emphasize the importance of adequate and reliable weather information for the public, for the general public, emergency services, our fishers, and other related trades that rely and depend on accurate weather forecasts and monitoring. Yours truly, Leland Anthony, Warden, Municipality of Yarmouth.
I already answered this letter, responding to Liz Smith Doucette to indicate that the warden, or in his absence, a representative of our council would be at this meeting. So Clare will be represented around the table. Eric, if it were possible, I would be interested in attending. The bus transportation is involved in this. Our forecasts are not really very good, so I would be very interested in this. There would be a good chance that I may be out fishing if the forecast is good.
Then we go to 8.2, which is a letter from the town of Middleton, Mayor Sylvester Atkinson.
Create a new acronym that also maintains the term federation. The new name could be maintained by using Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities, or NSFM. Thank you for taking the time to consider this suggestion and bringing it to the Board of Directors for input at that level. Sylvester Atkinson, Mayor.
So,
So the next letter, maybe we will read the next letter before discussing this matter. Okay, the next letter comes from Jimmy McAlpine, Warden of the Municipality of Digby.
I am writing on behalf of the Council of the Municipality of the District of Digby to express Council's agreement with the suggestion from the town of Middleton regarding the proposed name change for the UNSM. Council agrees that the name Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities, or NSFM, would be a more suitable name given the concerns regarding the acronym for Federation of Nova Scotian Municipalities, or FNSM. Sincerely, Jimmy McAlpine, Warden.
je suis sûr vous en souvenez.
I'm glad you remember that at the 4 meetings ago, there was a letter from the municipality of St. Mary's, I think. They were proposing another name, but they were not they did not agree with the change that the UNSM was proposing. This is the third municipality that expresses themselves. I don't honestly like the change too much, but it shows that even with the bigger work that has been done, it hasn't gone to the municipalities. I don't know what your opinion is on this, if we want to pronounce ourselves or not say anything on this matter to support the name, or just ask them to look at the process. I don't know what is your wish. I don't agree what the UNSM name proposed, but I like NSFM, and I support NSFM. The concern that I have, it's just my personal one. I didn't think there was any problem with UNSM because the UNSM supposed to represent the municipalities and the clientele is us. So if we know what the UNSM does, essentially it works. So honestly, I don't know where the idea to change the name comes from. I don't have anything against the acronym that Brian mentions, but are you proposing that we recommend that one. I propose UNSM will do a change, I think. It's obvious, but it's, if they ask our opinion, I think we should discuss it. This is what we would we prefer. Are they asking us for our opinion? Just to clarify, it is not the UNSM. They have already decided about the new name. This is after the decision. The municipalities individually are writing letters to saying we're not content. We don't agree with the decision that has been taken. So it's not a question of opinion, but we have a right to express our opinion if we want, and I think that's what councillors should decide. I have no problem supporting the Berwick suggestion. Atkinson rather, if it's what the council wishes. Then
I I didn't have a problem with UNSM myself, but
because as you mentioned, I'm not agree with the way it has been done. It has has been forced on us. That's the impression I have. The UNSM had made the decision without asking our opinion, and I think we should have. I think all municipalities should have been consulted. So now they're doing something after the fact, and we should have been asked before. That's my opinion on this matter. Anybody else? I think if Middleton did, I think everybody received the letters, and I think as Brian said, the change NSFM will probably become in majority, so I think it will be changing back. I think the point here, Carl's point, they had discussions at regional meetings, but in reality, a lot of municipalities don't go to these meetings, and a big change like this should have been brought to the attention of each council, I think. That's my opinion. It's not, they didn't follow the right procedure, I believe too. But this being said, I think it's quite clear that we, Brian, would you like to make a motion to write a letter to support? I would like to propose that we write a letter to indicate that we prefer the MSFM. If we seconded by Danny, and I think we should send a copy to all the other municipalities. Is there any other discussion on this motion? All those in favor indicate by saying yes. Against? Motion carried. So this is 8.2 and 8.3, letter from Waste Check regarding plastic. You probably saw in the media that plastic bags, and the leader of Waste Check met different councils to make a presentation regarding the use of plastic bags. I know he sent a letter, he made a presentation to the Armit Council, then sent the following letter.
2018 meeting of Waste Check, there was a lengthy discussion on the topic of plastic film and specifically single-use plastic bags, the kind used by many grocery stores and retailers. The current Nova Scotia Minister of Environment, the Honourable Ian Rankin, has expressed interest in banning these bags if the action was supported by Nova Scotia municipalities. The request for municipal support was put to the regional chairs by the minister at a meeting with him on January 11, 2018. At the regional chairs meeting, January 12, 2018, the chairs were instructed to take the request for support back to the municipalities in their region. Therefore, in support of our regional chair, Leland Anthony, and at the request of the Waste Check Authority, we ask the question of you. Is your municipal unit supportive of a provincial ban on single-use plastic bags? If you would like to discuss this issue, or if you would like Waste Check staff to attend a council meeting to present on and discuss the issue, please do not hesitate to contact me. To date, the municipality of the District of Digby has passed a motion to support a provincial ban, and the municipality of the District of Yarmouth has discussed the issue but have not yet reached a decision. If your municipal unit is supportive of a provincial ban, a draft motion is attached to this letter for your consideration. The Waste Check Authority has respectfully requested you reply to this correspondence by March 9th so that Chairman Anthony can report on our support or opposition at the next Regional Chairs meeting. Please do not hesitate to contact me. Sincerely, Gus Green, General Manager, Waste Check.
Discussion sur la lettre?
Is there a discussion on this letter?
I would just want to add that I should have said in my report, at our last meeting, we talked about this. The Waste Check group would like to see that these bags are banned, but it's not easy. It's not as easy as we think. I'll talk about that in my report. I would like to invite Gus Green or whoever to talk to us about this. I would like the public to be aware of what would happen if we ban plastic. Would that mean we go to paper? I haven't come to a decision on this matter yet. Is there someone else? Hector? I'm in agreement with Roussel, Councillor Roussel, that the Waste Check representative should come and talk to us. I'm in 100% in agreement. It would have an impact on our local businesses. Perhaps we should reach out to the Chamber of Commerce before coming to a decision. I know that they want an answer by the 9th, but I think it's important for us to take our time before coming to a decision. I think it would be a good idea to contact the Chamber of Commerce to get their input. This would be a big change and would make a big difference whether they go to paper or whatever. It could be a very big change. As a point of information, the discussion is taking place in other municipalities, and to date the consensus seems to be that among the majority that this ban has to take place at the provincial level, and for that municipal consensus is necessary. We don't want to have a situation where the southwest region would ban the bags and in the valley they'd still be allowed. So if we are going to do something, the feedback that we've gotten from a number of municipalities, especially Amherst, is that they're in agreement with the idea on condition that it's done uniformly throughout the province. I think the danger for us, if we make decisions, the province will perhaps go ahead and say, well, they might ask all the municipalities to do it. If we need to know what it all means. So you're all in agreement that we follow the suggestion of Deputy Warren Doucet to invite the Waste Check people. but they want an answer before the 9th of March. We should perhaps we should invite him to the first meeting of the council. I am in agreement that they need an answer before the 9th. Is that a provincial deadline or is it waste check? The meeting of chairs, but I don't think that we should be influenced by this deadline. It's still up in the air, as they say. They would like to have an answer, but I don't think we should allow ourselves to be influenced. We should think about this in an appropriate way. Perhaps another meeting is what we need. I would prefer at the televised meeting, if we take a decision and no one else will hear it. If it's televised, everyone will have the opportunity of listening. The presentation would give good information. It would be a good idea to have it televised to see what would be implied by this development. Independently of that, I think we should invite the sectors who are involved, the Chamber of Commerce, and the businesses that deal with plastic a lot. I think that's a good idea. We sent them the agenda. Not everyone sees it. We should send invitations to all the stores and everyone. So you're in agreement with that?
Oh, Dan?
I think we definitely do need more information on it because we have no idea what alternatives or, what they want us to do. But I was reading in the draft, if you was to sign the draft and send it back, they're saying there the province is agreeable to a plastic bag ban or introduce a fee. So it's not even a straight up ban they want you to sign. So we do need more information.
We go on to 9, report from the Chief Administrator. Thank you. A number of the projects are already on the agenda. For the sewer treatment plant at Church Point, not too much change there. The 3 plant panels have been delivered, installed, and are now operational. The 3 panels in Matagan, the project came in under budget. We were at approximately $54,000. We were talking about introducing a SCADA system, like in Belleville Cove, and we already have in our panels. This will allow us to have increased efficiency for communication and monitoring. The province, we discussed with the province, and they have seen the value of this system. So we have their full approval for the addition of a SCADA system. We will be using the rest of the funds which remain to continue with SCADA. This is a modular system, so we can work within the existing system. And we are consulting our firm of engineers for their recommendations as to what the best layout will be given the budget we have to play with. For the John Thibodeau Road, we already spoke about that. For the cultural hub, as already discussed, we will continue with funding from ACOA for $30,000. In order to have this, the municipality will have to contribute $30,000. The work to be done is mostly inside. Also, there are problems that we have with the building, which is not in conformity with the fire prevention code. So all that to say that the application will be coming out. We will be putting out a call for tenders tomorrow. It will close on the 23rd of March. So those who are interested will have a month to submit a tender, but it will be conditional on our having the financial approval.
As for the 250 anniversary of Clare, an update, there's a 250 things, a list to make that has been prepared. The checklist has been included at in the Clare Visitors Guide of 2018. In March, there will be a more detailed list, and it would be the activities will be launched. We had also spoken about make commemorative wine for the 250th, and we invited artists from the region to submit a design for the how it will be put on the wine bottles. We were glad to get 14 submissions were presented, so we are studying these and evaluating them. That's what the committee is doing. And finally, on that project, activities that we propose in the future, the Oath of Allegiance, a reenactment of the Oath of Allegiance, the arrival of Joseph Dugas, and the opening of the park at Cap Sainte-Marie. We also had a meeting with the Mark Bannerman from the Francophone department. We talked about the 250th, and his department would like to help us to organize our activities, so he invited us to submit a budget for $20,000 or $30,000 to add to our budget for the feasts. So we're gonna try to find a program for provincial program to help us. So we're discussing with them, and the Minister of Acadian Affairs is also interested in the activities that we have proposed. So we see this as being very positive. For the park at the lighthouse at the Cape, this website and the design of the website and its content is going forward. We will launch the site when the official launching date will be established. We're discussing with Colin Fraser. We're looking probably in the week of May 14th, because Colin will be in the area on those dates, and he'd like to talk on behalf of the federal government, who has given a lot of funding. The format for the names and the monument has been finalized. We have done a few revisions and send them to the heritage of the monument and indicate that we would like to propose, especially on the layout. This has been done and finalized, and Heritage is just waiting for our news to start engraving the names. For the Veterans Center, we have prepared a few specifications to start a new project that I discussed with council. The intention there is to invite tenders at the end of March. When we did the March for the cultural hub, we'd like to send tenders for the Veterans Center. Once these tenders will be closed, we will have a list of priorities for proposed renovations that will be presented to council for your consideration. And if you approve these recommendations, that will be the basis of the amount of money we'll be putting And again, talking to Colin Fraser's, I think the tenders would be launched at the beginning of April, but it could be later on. For the Major Point Road, we're still waiting for the cost. As you know, we made estimates for how much it would cost to bring the road up to standard, and we have calculated the total amount of the project and also what would be the cost for each owner of that on that road. For the Grand Fondo, starting on the February, there was 101 registrations, including 26 from out of the province, and it's quite encouraging. In February, we sent an email newsletter to 1,500 subscribers. We are coordinating the design of a map brochure for 2018 and 2019 with updates to text, photos and maps. We will print 10,000 copies for a 2-year supply. We're partnering with Grand Fondo Foridon in Gaspésie on cross-promotional opportunities for our 2 activities, and they will send 2 or 3 representatives to participate in ours, and we're gonna send one of our members to participate in their Grand Fondo this year. We have received a confirmation of funding from Tourism Nova Scotia for digital marketing, $5,000 for Grand Fondo 2018 and 19. And accommodation sponsors, 2 or 4. And we had the Admiral, those that haven't connected, they have accepted to, we're asking for $100 to a sponsorship. The Pines has respectfully declined, and Rod Grand also hasn't connected with the new manager, and Larry's trying to reach him now. What is the Meteghan River Sewer Extension? The project is essentially complicated. There's a bit of money left over, $80,000 under budget. We propose to council to buy a new pump to treat the sewage and also replace our outfall pipe for the Meteghan sewer treatment plant that we had identified last year. Up to now, we're waiting approval from the province to proceed with these purchases, whether we can do it or not. We should have news shortly, and as soon as we have these news, we will go ahead with this project. If we can do it inside of our budget of $80,000. So we're not talking about new money. For our financials of January 31st, the municipality had recorded $8,419,422 versus $6,802,776 in expenses, for a net income of $1,616,659. The municipality had a balance of $1,403,801 in general account, $265,068 in its capital fund, and a total reserve balance of $4,013,685. From that amount, we can divide it as an operating reserve, 439,750. A capital reserve, 2,643,525. The landfill closure reserve, 318,243. And the gas tax reserve, 612,167. And this,
We're hoping for the last payment. If I'm not mistaken, it's less than $200,000 that we should be receiving as the last payment. Internally, the planning of the budget for 2018-2019 is underway. The departmental budgets are expected by February 28th. For the grants to organizations 2018-2019, the deadline is set for the 30th of March 2018. The application form is on the municipal website, and ads will appear shortly in both the Clare Shopper and the Courrier de la Nouvelle-Écosse. The performance evaluations of staff are set to commence shortly, and these should be completed by March 30th. A number of meetings which I attended. Since the last meeting, I met Craig Smith, TIR, to discuss work to be done on our sidewalks. We met, the management team met on the 23rd of January. The president, the warden and I met with the Transport de Clare on the 25th of January. The boundary review was on the 6th of February. We met with the Councillor Hill, Councillor Roussel, with the representatives of the Richfield Fire Department and the Clare Firefighters Association on February 8th to discuss the future of those departments and services in those areas. We also met with YASTA and a number of municipalities on the 14th of February. Consultant has been hired to do a 5-year development plan, and his name is Richard Ailes Brain Trust Communications, which has been hired. And I also had a meeting with Ren, and they have a consultant which will be doing which will be WAVTAC, and they will be doing a project on investment opportunities and strategy implementation. This is with a view to promoting the region on international markets. A number of other meetings I mentioned with municipalities concerning the Doppler radar. There's also the AMA administrators for the Western region on March 9th, 2018, and our annual tax sale will be coming up soon and will take place on the 10th of March, which is a Saturday. And we have about 26 properties on the list. It's not a big list this year, and the staff is working on it. It should be a shorter list than that by the 10th of March. So that is my report. Thank you, Stefan. Are there any questions? Are there any recommendations which came out of the meeting with the fire departments concerning Richfield? I think Danny has a report for the CFFA, so he will have more details on that. Are there other questions? If there are none, thank you, Stefan. We will go to committee reports. 10.1, construction building permits. Danny?
17 was 7 permits issued for evaluate construct. January of 2017, there were 7 permits issued for a value of construction of $121,400. And January of 2018, there was 11 permits for $802,200. So we're off to a really good start by the looks of it.
Des questions? Ensuite, alors la 10.2, Villa Acadienne, Brian.
Ceci, c'est un rapport sur le remplacement de la villa acadienne. Et voici les étapes qu'on a déjà passées à travers. Le 23 décembre 2015, Brian Darrell du ministère provincial, qui est le directeur des facilités de soins de santé et de projets de services,
Okay, he asked for the villa, that an evaluation be made to see whether the villa should be replaced or renovated. On the 26th of February 2016, Stantec, a consultant firm, did a physical assessment of the building. 1 week later, March 2nd, 2016, the Department of Health did functional assessment within the building. They looked at how much they looked at the bathroom facilities, the size of bedrooms, what the barrier-free status, etc., the functioning of the kitchen, and clothes washing facilities. On the 21st of December 2016, the Minister of Health, Leo Glavine, asked that we submit a business plan to describe the program of care delivered through the facility. On the 17th of February, we asked the owners of the land to consider building a new structure in Metegans, and we hired Nycom and Associates to prepare a business plan. On the 7th of July, we received a copy of this business plan, and a month later, on the 8th of August, we presented our business plan to the Department of Health. On the 10th and 14th of August, we answered all landowners who submitted expressions of interest to sell land to build a villa. 3 submissions out of 10 meet the criteria determined by the consultants. On the 25th of October, we wrote a letter to the Department of Health, saying that we hadn't received an answer on our business plan submitted on the 4th of August. On the 11th of December, the staff of the Acadian Villa explained to the Department of Health the role of staff in the functioning of the new villa. This is information that was requested as separately from the business plan, which was complete, and the villa will ask for increased staffs, more CCA and more housekeeping staff. For example, if each resident has his or her own bedroom and bathroom, there will be more work required for housekeeping. There's also 86 regular beds and spare beds. In 2018, the villa submit a draft budget for the operation of the new villa to the Department of Health. So that is where we have gotten to at this point. There are a number of, there are 5 more steps to be accomplished, and then we will be waiting on the acceptance of the budget for the construction. And we have to choose the site, and we have to hire architects and engineers, ask for tenders for the construction, and deliver a contract to the contractors. That's where we have gotten to. Are there any questions? essentially, basically, the executive has been doing a lot of work, but it's in the hands of the province to work out the details of how much it will cost. So that was it was necessary, I think, that the public have a good description of what is going on. Just a question, just to be clear, to date, there is no actual plan. No, thank you. Are there any more questions? Thank you, Brian.
10.3 waste check. Thank you, Warden, Mr. Warden. We had a meeting last week. First of all, I'd like to mention that we have adopted the revision of our new bylaws. It took a lot of time because we changed a lot of things, and there are things that we removed, and we had added other things. We finally adopted this, so I think now they will ask us to decide whether we will be adopting them or not. We also spoke about what is happened, extended producer responsibility. We had spoken about this before, but the businesses who use, for example, cardboard or boxes, a lot of paper, we'd like it to be their responsibility to recycle these. It would be their responsibility to do this. Right now it's under our list of, and we'd like to have this adopted, but this is a big project in the future if it works well. We also spoke, and we already mentioned it here, about the plastic bags, and also the plastic film. To compare the two, the plastic bags are the bags that we have at the store when you give you a plastic bag. The plastic film is, for example, if we buy something that's, for example, meat that has sold in plastic, we're supposed to wash it and put that in the recycling. A lot of people don't do this. They put it in the garbage because it's easier. So the plastic film and the plastic bags are two different items. And the reason they want to remove the plastic bags is because China is taking they used to take all these bags to recycle them, but they don't do so anymore, and what they were using them for, they are not using them for that purpose anymore, so they have already an oversupply in their warehouses. So China is not using these anymore. So we spoke about this before, and we'll wait for the presentation of Gus, and then we'll understand better how the issue of bags will be treated. So that's what we spoke about the most, is plastic bags. The EPR is what we discussed mostly at our meeting. Are there any questions?
You was working on a project to get businesses to recycle their own cardboard. How was that going to take place?
Well, it's going to
Right now, it's
we have companies in the province that use, for example, I'm going to use cardboard for an example. So a company that would use a lot of cardboard, then we have to get rid of it. So it becomes our problem. So we wanted to put it in their ball field so that they either recycle it, that they use less, That's our hope, that they will be using less, or another means of like they would maybe not use the cardboard anymore. But like some provinces this is already being done. So we would just adapt what the other provinces are being used. So, but of course, that's not going to go well with most companies in the province. So it's going to be a problem, I believe, to adopt this. So.
That's d'autres questions?
Are there any other questions? I have a question on the EPR also. It's been 4 or 5 years ago. We had meetings with all the municipalities in the company to look at that, because in Ontario it already exists. And the calculations were made, and our municipality, we had about $350,000 that would have been paid to us, which would have been collected by the province. Are you looking at that for just our region, or is it the whole province that's looking at this? Yes, it is the province. We're Region 7, but we're looking at this on a province-wide basis. It would involve the whole province, yes. Because if I remember correctly, it was a few years ago, it wasn't necessarily the way we had been explained. It wouldn't be the little business would have to pay. It would be the people who do the product. For example, the company who pizza wouldn't have to pay for their boxes, but the franchise would pay for it. And in Nova Scotia, there wouldn't be many companies who'd be have to pay, because it's mostly multinational companies that would have to pay this. Is this it? Yes. In general, this is what it is. It's the big companies that we want to convince to assume this responsibility. But there's not that many in Nova Scotia, but up to now, they don't want to get involved in this. But it would be probably not a choice for them. They will just be obliged to do so. Thank you. Are there any other questions? You spoke about plastic bags and plastic films and how to wash plastic film. Have you discussed this? Have you discussed different options for the plastic? Yes. It's just ideas that we discussed. They want to go back to paper for everything, for meat. Even in the store, they want to go back to paper. But saying this because we have already removed the paper. The objective will be to use reusable bags that people are already using, but there are a lot of people who are not using these. For example, somebody who just arrives from somewhere else, they don't always have their bags of reusables with them. So we need something, and that is the problem. We must think that if they want to remove the plastic bags, we need something to replace these. But this being said, if we go to Costco, they don't give you any bags. If you don't have your own bags, you just bring your stuff in your hands. So it's already being done, but it's difficult to just go say we won't have any more plastic bags anywhere, but they want us to use reusable bags. That will be the philosophy or the answer to this question. Any other questions? If not, thank you, Carl. So we go to 10.4 firefighters. Danny.
As Stefan had mentioned earlier, we had a meeting on February 8th with me, Neil, Yvonne, and Stefan, and members of the Richfield Fire Department and members of the Clare Firefighters Association. We just had to get some stuff cleared up. There was a lot of misinformation going around, and nobody really knew what was going on. So Richfield has decided that they want to stay open, and they're going to set up mutual aid with Hectanuga and Havelock, and they already have mutual aid with Carlton, and they want to keep that going. And they're in conversations now with Havelock to become a substation of the Havelock Fire Department. But they do have the Jaws of Life in Richfield, and it wasn't what they thought it was anyway. They thought it was some supermodel, I don't know. I guess it's an old-fashioned model, just gas engine. And Richard, we had a CFA meeting on the 13th, and they all talked about it then, and they all agreed they were going to work it out amongst themselves. The council didn't have to intervene. The CFA wasn't even going to intervene. So as far as I know, everything is going well. Is there any questions on it? And maybe Yvonne or Neil might want to add something, I don't know.
Yeah, they talked about one of the issues for the fire department going to find a fire is the civic numbers at the houses. I don't know if it's the responsibility of the municipality to try to promote that. So I don't know how if we could promote it, because it's going to come an issue at one point and people are going to lose their lives. So.
I'm sorry, just curious what the issue specific. I know we're responsible for civic numbering, but is it specific? I'm just don't quite understand the issue there. Sorry.
The problem is the houses don't put civic numbers. Like there's camps, there's a road, and there's lots of camps, and there's no civic. It comes to a dead end, and whoops, we missed the fire, or, and something like that could happen. And so it's kind of to promote so that the houses put civic numbers in one way or another.
Evil?
It was more the houses and the roads, I think, as well, like private roads that aren't named properly, or civic numbers. I know a lot of people use the case for cottages. Well, if I don't have a civic address there, they won't come and steal or something, like that sort of. So it's not really that they forgot to put it. It's more that they didn't want to put it in some cases. So it's really hard to see.
I know, Dan, you remember, I'm pretty sure, well, that when we looked at possibly implementing a bylaw for civic numbering, and and who would be in favor and who would oppose it, and in the end, I think we decided not to go through with it because we felt it was kind of forceful on our citizens. But it's not something that you guys would like to look into again, or?
I think the Firefighters Association would like to do it again, but we, like you said, we brought it up at council and we agreed we didn't want to force people to get one. We were going to recommend that they do and trying to encourage it all we could. I don't know how many if that's picked up or not, I really have no idea. The problem in question that Neil was talking about was somewhere in, I think it's the Hectanuga area. I guess there's a road that goes in and there's 3 roads that split off and there's cottages down the roads. And no civic numbers, no road names. But it's, it's like they were saying, the fire chief should go in, encourage them. I don't know who's supposed to do this. Mm-hmm. Like, is it totally up to that person? If he doesn't want to name that road, those 3 people, they don't have to?
It's a good question. I'm not sure I have the answer to that, unfortunately. I mean, if it's a private road, I'm not sure if they're obligated to name it or not. Certainly in terms of security for everyone involved, obviously the recommendation would be to name it and to have a proper civic address for our fire departments or our emergency first responders or service providers to be able to respond as quickly as possible. So I certainly appreciate the difficulty that a lack of proper civic numbering or road naming causes, and I can certainly have a chat or a discussion with Gary and Danielle downstairs to maybe how do we look at starting to address that? Maybe just awareness building, and is there a means to more actively promote that? And maybe it's, again, like Brian suggested, maybe at the bylaw committee level, maybe we revisit that bylaw, and is there more of an appetite now to pursue it?
Well, I'm glad you said that, because that's what me and Yvonne and Neil told them. They were questioning the councils up about it, so I was glad to hear that that's a policy on it, so. Is there any more questions on, okay, sorry.
I have a couple of things, but the jaws, were they at one time lent or given, or well, lent to Carlton and they were returned back to, or were they always in Richfield?
No, they were lent to Carlton because they were hooked on with Carlton as mutual aid, and they didn't have anybody trained in Richfield to operate the jaws anyway. So instead of sitting on their shelf, they lent them to Carlton. So
they're back.
yeah, they're back.
I think when they brought him to Carlton, they did a training course on him, and then they did get trained for him. So now they were just sort of, Carlton was keeping him to start up. It's a gas engine, so they had to keep it started up while they weren't using it. And then if they're using it now, it's in their truck. So it's sort of a...
And just back on the, just a quick, on the civic numbers, I can speak from experience with EHS. It is a big problem. We go to many houses, even on the main, that they do have numbers, but the older black numbers that we had sold to them a long time ago, this was done through the fire departments. It was a fundraiser. So the fire departments, I know I'm speaking for Littlebrook that I was in, so we sold the numbers to the people, and then we would put the numbers in everything. So it was a fundraiser for the fire department. Then they came out with those blue reflective blue and white signs. The black numbers are very difficult to see at night and even during the day. Where the signs were placed many years ago, now there's trees grown in front of the signs. So they're really difficult to see. So we try to, when we do a call at a certain, we try to encourage people to put the signs either closer to the road, get the blue and white signs if they don't have them. But and sure, they always say, sure, but it's never done. So yeah, I don't know whose responsibility it would be. But right now it is to the owner of the house. But I think this should be more. We should be more proactive into trying to get the people to because it is become a problem. So if everyone could have those blue and white reflective signs, so if we could somehow, yeah, I don't know exactly how we could do it, but
There's forms in the basement actually to order a blue sign, either for road naming or civic numbers. They have the forms downstairs that you can fill out and send out to get one made. They deliver, you can pick it up here or whatever when they're done.
D'autres questions?
Are there other questions, Danny?
Yeah.
Note from the firefighters, they're having their second annual weekend workshop, April the 14th and 15th at the University St. Anne Theater. And if anybody's interested, for more information, they can contact their local fire chief.
Ivo?
Did you let Stefan know for the burning,
Yes.
for the Clare shopper net to advertise for?
So yeah, just on that note, that's regarding the annual ad we put for the reminding people that for burning permits, they need to get a burning permit because it's the time of year when people typically start to burn. So there will be an ad appearing in the Clare Shopper in the coming, I believe, in the next edition of the Clare Shopper, which is similar to basically explains the bylaw with regards to burning, as well as the contact number for the individual fire departments and the respective fire chiefs. So that will appear in the next edition of the Clare Shopper.
Danny?
Maybe, could you possibly get something written up to put in there to encourage people to get civic number signs?
Certainly, we can look at the wording, and if we could either as part of that ad or as part of a standalone, if it's something council wishes, we can certainly do that.
I think it would help definitely. So n'as-tu d'autres questions?
Are there Other questions?
Alors là,
11, new business, motion, 11.1, motion to enact bylaw amendment number 1, second and final reading. I want to speak rapidly to this. The principle of this bylaw is to propose a list of common definitions that will appear in our other bylaws. The bylaw we had previously, we had a series of definitions, but we realized there was a few that were missing, so we added ones that were missing. So first of all, we will be posting the bylaw to receive comments. We received no comments, no questions. So there is no reason not to, so there's no reason to believe that the public is not in agreement with going ahead with this second and final reading. Brian, would you like to read the motion?
We've elaborated I move that the municipality of the District of Clare read bylaw number 1, amendment number 0101/2017, a bylaw respecting interpretation, and that the bylaw be read for the second and final time, thereby enacting the bylaw amendment. Somebody here to second, seconded by Hector. Is there a discussion on this motion? All those in favor indicate by saying yes. Against? Motion carried. So I think, Darren, you have to read the bylaw. Modification. I move that the municipality respect. Which one? Then we go to 11.2. Motion to enact bylaw amendment number 9, second and final reading. This is to concerning the noise bylaw. We had proposed the revision to the bylaw, existing bylaw, and we received quite a few comments on questions regarding worries. So the bylaw committee took these into consideration and proposed certain revisions to the bylaw, taking into account the comments we had received. But we discussed with our lawyer, and just you can look at we went over them to see that the language was clear, and the bylaw is something that exists in other municipalities, and talking with other colleagues from other municipalities, we thought it was a good idea to put this forward, since we presented the readings, that we received no other feedback from the public, and nor any written submissions. Nobody asked to come to meet council again regarding the changes we made. There's a person who called me regarding a case that he has with his neighbor, and he just wanted to know if the bylaw passes, to who he would have to communicate. It was not regarding the bylaw itself, but how it will be implemented. So I don't know if Councillor Como, you had any comments, or so we have not received anything. Is there anybody who's ready to do the motion? I move that the municipality of the District of Clare read bylaw number 9, amendment number 0901/2017, a bylaw respecting noise, and that the bylaw be read for the second and final time, thereby enacting the bylaw amendment. Is somebody to second this? Seconded by Carl. Is there any discussion on this motion?
And I'd like to say, I was on the bylaw committee in the past, and I know they're doing a lot of good work at the bylaw committee. It is a lot of work.
I agree. It's not an easy committee to sit on. En disant ça, notre
This being said, is there anybody else who wants to say something about this motion? If not, all those in favor indicate by saying yes. Against? Motion carried. So somebody must read the motion. Bylaw number 9, amendment number 0901/2017, a bylaw respecting noise. Just a question regarding the, must this be passed at the provincial level before it be new? Yes, according the process recommended by the province, we must put it again in the Clare shopper on our webpage to say that we proceeded at a second and final reading. There is, or to say that the bylaw signed by the warden and myself will be sent to the province. Then we go on to 11.3, motion to accept tax reduction for fire damage. Yeah, this is our practice. That last year we had 4 houses and a camp that burnt and were completely destroyed because of fire. It happened at different times during the year. In those cases, we reduced the property taxes on these buildings starting at the date of the fire, and all of these 4 cases it was a complete loss, so they pay taxes on the house until the date when it burnt down. So the motion that you have in front of you is to are the amounts that we will reduce from each of these 4 accounts. I move that Council for the Municipality of the District of Clare write off the following noted tax amounts for the reasons described there herein. Account 00697958 for the amount of $425.10. Account number 01667793 for the amount of $176.58 for fire damage. Account 00278297 for $1,148.30 for fire damage. Account number 05382386 for $342.55 for fire damage. Somebody to second this, seconded by Dan. Is there any discussion on this motion? All those in favor indicate by saying yes. Against, motion carried. 11.4, motion to award the tender to the Sabanor Community Center. We discussed this at the last meeting. We have set out tenders for the construction of the new social center and for the community center we had 4 tenders. The lowest one was from Delmar Construction Limited for a total of $48,500. More so, there was an additional amount of 48,348, which was done intentionally here by the staff for furnishings and other items, tables, chairs, and all these, for a total amount of 48,348 plus HST. So what we recommend here tonight is a motion to give the tender to accept the Delmar's tender to the amount of 168,500 plus HST plus an additional amount of 48,348 for HST for a total of 216,848 plus HST to be funded by the municipality's gas tax reserve. Somebody wanted to read this. I move that the Council for the Municipality of the District of Clare award the tender Segment A for the new Saint Bernard Community Center to Delmar Construction Limited in the amount of $168,500 plus HST. Furthermore, an additional 48,348 plus for HST and furnishings and other sundry items is also being recommended for a total of 260,848 plus HST to be funded from the municipality's gas tax reserve. Somebody second this? Seconded by Carl. Is there discussion on this motion?
All in favor, say aye. Against? Carried. 11.5, motion to award the tender on the new St. Bernard Fire Hall. As part of the same call for tenders, there were also submission for a new fire hall in St. Bernard, which would be an addition to the existing building. Once again, looking at the tenders we received, it was the consensus that the tender should be, of Delmar Construction should be accepted for the amount of $540,275 plus HST, and there would be an additional amount of $13,000 plus HST for garage doors and a compressor. It isn't included in the submission that we received from Delmar Construction, but this comes to an amount totaling $553,303 plus HST. We recommend that these funds be requested from the Municipal Finance Corporation. This will require that in the meantime, that the project be financed by the municipality's capital reserve.
I move that the Council for the Municipality of the District of Clare award the tender, Segment B, for the new St. Bernard Fire Hall to Delmar Construction Limited in the amount of $540,275 plus HST. Furthermore, an additional $13,028 plus HST for garage doors and a compressor is also being recommended for a total of $553,303 plus HST. These funds are to be requested from the Municipal Finance Corporation, but cash flowed in the interim through the municipality's capital reserve.
Secondé par Neil, noté de la
Seconded by Neil. Is there discussion? We are pleased to see that this project is going ahead. It's been a long time that we've been trying to achieve this. We have tried really hard, and our administrative officer worked very hard to find funds outside of the municipality. In the case of a fire hall, there aren't just such sources of funding. So it comes to the province. So we're really pleased to see that the municipality has been able to go ahead. Yeah, Carl, just a small point. We should say to the public, following on other meetings, we should be reminded that things like this, we have talked about these previously. That's why we're not saying very much at this stage. We have discussed this at other meetings. It's not that we have no interest in this. There are no more doubts on this project. We've talked about it a lot over a number of years. It's been more than 10 years. We've been waiting on this for a long time. It's been going round and round the table, and we always wanted to go ahead with it. It's a big project, and we've been trying to get money outside of the municipality, but that didn't work. So, you know, on behalf of the council, I can say that we are very pleased that this is going ahead. Are you ready for the question? All in favor, say aye. Against? Motion carried. 11.6, motion to adopt the fire and emergency services provider registration policy. This is simply in response to our request from Clare Search and Rescue. This is something that was recommended to them by the provincial association, and we support this. The idea is that we need a policy in order that we can recognize them. So what you have in your package is a policy which was developed internally and which we propose, and it's in conformity by what the MTA requires, and the form which is in the appendix is directly from the MGA. So this is not something which is new. It exists in a number of municipalities, and this will allow us not only to register ground search and rescue, but also our fire departments. And this will allow us to do an update every 2 years concerning what services are offered and who is trained in what different areas. This will give us a better picture of what our emergency services are within the community. And this is very strongly recommended by the staff. Is there someone who would like to make the motion? Carl? I move that the council for the municipality of the District of Clare adopt the proposed fire and emergency services provider registration policy. Is there a seconder? Danny. Is there a discussion on the motion?
FA meeting about this registration, and they were all in support, and they were all looking forward to getting the email so they could fill it out, so it went over very well.
That's good news. So, vous parlez pour la...
Are you ready for the vote? All in favor, say aye. Against, say nay. Carried. 11.7, motion to contribute to la Société Acadienne de Clare's project Engageons nos citoyens. This is a reminder following on the report on effective representation for Acadians and Afro-Nova Scotians, and given the revision of electoral boundaries that we have just gone through this evening, we just completed this evening, the Société Acadienne wants to organize a program to involve the citizens in governance and citizenship. So they have asked us to support a project that they are sending to Heritage Canada, and it has three components. There are workshops on governance and municipal government. Secondly, the development of tools to help encourage people to become more involved in municipal government. And thirdly, it would be to organize a play. And the original application was for a letter of support, which we gave them. And after that, in discussing with the council, we thought that there was perhaps an opportunity to play a more active role as a financial partner. So we are proposing a contribution of $3,000 to the project, and that these funds be directed specifically to the organization of workshops on municipal government. And we would involve the local interveners. So the motion is to render our contribution of $3,000, and that this amount come out of grants for organizations in the coming budget.
Somebody wants to make this motion, Jose Como? I move that the council for the municipality of the district of Clare contribute $3,000 from its 2018-19 grants to organizations program to the Société Acadienne de Clare for its project entitled Engageons nos citoyens. Somebody wants to second this? Seconded by Eric. Is there a motion on this motion? Just to Councillor, most of these motions have been discussed at committee of council, and the process that the committee and council make these, a lot of these projects have been discussed in detail at the committee of council, which are also public meetings where public can come here, so we want to be sure that people don't think that we have these behind closed doors. Are there any discussions on this motion? All those in favor signify by saying yes. Against, motion carried. 11.8, motion to approve the 2018 budget for lifeguard services at Marinette Beach. This is a motion that we do every year to assure the services of lifeguards. The amount of this year is $10,275.66, including HST, according to the budget that was submitted. To go ahead with this, the province asks us to have this motion pass before the end of March. So the montant of this year is a bit above last year's budget. There was a question regarding budget at the last meeting that council had questioned about travel expenses of $400, essentially talking about the recreation department. The service is coordinated by the province, but the company who offers this service, Life Saving Society, has a contract with the province. So the amount of traveling of $400 is to assure that the service it will be monitored. So in the budget, if I understand correctly, they put a small amount for cost related to this monitoring, which is tied up to trips. I move that the council for the municipality of the district of Clare approve the expenses budgeted by recreation services in the amount of $10,275,066, including HST, to provide lifeguard service at Marinette Beach during summer 2018 on weekends only from June 30th to August 26th. Somebody second this, seconded by Councilor Tebow. Is there any discussion on this? All those in favor indicate by saying yes. Against? Motion carried. 11.9, motion to refinance the balance owing on the Clare Health Center. This is an answer to a letter that I received by the Municipal Finance Corporation when we constructed the Clare Health Center. The amount that the municipality had borrowed from the finance corporation, this is the amount of $1,250,100. In 2018, 2019 is the 10th year of this, the amounts owing, so as because of the conditions of this borrowing, we have the option to pay the balance of $1,250,000 or to refinance the balance to the remaining life of the term of the original debenture. Essentially continue with the payments that we've been doing of $175,000 per year. So my recommendation, discussing with the finance director, is to keep the payments as they are now. So I think it's we're advantage to refinance it rather than the whole whole amount of our capital reserve. Somebody want to do the motion? I move that the Council for the Municipality of the District of Clare refinance the balance owing on the Clare Health Center in the amount of $1,250,000 with the Municipal Finance Corporation for the remaining life of the term of the original debenture. Somebody to second this? Seconded by Carl. Is there a discussion on this motion? All those in favor indicate by saying yes. Against? Motion carried. 11.10, motion to contribute to la Fondation des Jeux de l'Acadie. This is we received, the foundation of the Jeux de l'Acadie asked us to contribute an amount to their finance. This has been asked to many people in Clare, Argyll and in New Brunswick. The amount that was recommended was a contribution of $1,000, but they offers the option to pay $1,000 right now or extend it on a few years, since the amount is just $1,000. The recommendation is to contribute this year before the end of our fiscal year to the amount of $1,000 because it's a good cause and many athletes from Clare participate in these games. So there are representatives and members from Clare who have been members of this foundation. Somebody wants to read the motion? Eva? I move that the Council for the Municipality of the District of Clare contribute $1,000 from its grants to organizations program to la Fondation des Jeux de l'Acadie. Somebody to second this? Seconded by Carl. Is there a discussion on this motion? I'd just like to make it clear that the Jeux de l'Acadie are the regional Jeux de l'Acadie. It's not the same thing. It's the same games, but it's not the same event. It's the same organization. This is the regional ones are coming. This is the the top organization. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying yes. Against, motion carried. So we're gonna go in camera session. We have two items. 12.1 is the Order of Canada, Order of Nova Scotia nominations, and 12.2 is human resources. So for those who are listening to us, these are the two items we will discuss in a closed session. In saying this, we need a motion to go in a closed session proposed by Nils, seconded by Ivo. All those in favor indicate by saying yes. Against, motion carried.